Greetings YouTube, this is Sixus, and today I have a new Yu-Gi-Oh deck build for Hyle for you. And first off, the main deck, an important aspect is that all of the low-level non-tribute monsters all have the same effect to during your main phase. Special summon another full Hyle from your hand, but that's a hard one to return. Now, going into and all of them have an additional effect in addition to that. Starting off with the level 1 Winged Beast Philo Messenger for Hyle. This one's unique effect is that you can, if a full Hyle monster is special summoned, you can target one full Hyle monster in your graveyard, special on that in defense position, but if that card leaves the field, it goes to the bottom of your deck. Very unique, as most times when there's a wording like that, it tends to banish the monster afterwards. Oh, another beneficial thing is that it does not negate the effect of the monster. So after you do this, you can use that monster's effect to special another from the hand, which will trigger that one's effect. Next up, we got the 2 copies of the level 2 Donpa Marksman for Hyle. This is a beast. And when a full Hyle monster is special summoned, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. Whereas Recon, which has the same stats, well, reversed attack and defense, but everything about it is the same. This one can destroy a set card on the field as opposed to a face-up one. Then we got 2 copies of Helmel. Helmsman for Hyle. So Helmel has the effect that when one is special, you can discard a full Hyle card from your hand to draw one card. Fairly even consistency. You lose a card to get a card. Next up, we got 3 copies of Beat Blazeman for Hyle. This is a level 3 warrior, which has the effect that when a full Hyle monster is special summoned, you can add one full Hyle monster from your deck to your hand, which is very good for consistency. Then we got 3 copies of the level 4 Beast Warrior Seal, strategist for Hyle. Seal's unique effect is that when you special summon a full Hyle monster, you can target one full Hyle card in your monster. Yeah, one full Hyle monster in your graveyard, return that to your hand, which is useful for both getting more full Hyles in your hand to special summon, but also as discard fodder. Now we got the level 4 Reptile Bravo Fighter for Hyle. So this one has the unique effect that when a full Hyle monster is special summoned, you can have all 4 Hyle monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense, which, due to this one's base attack being 1900, would increase it to 2400. So fairly useful. Then we got 2 copies of Dinah Hero for Hyle. Dinah has, due to, we don't want the level 5 because it's just inflicts burn damage for the 4 Hyles you control except itself, and also it just makes so that it's the only one your opponent can target. Doesn't make it the only one your opponent can destroy, so that's not particularly useful as defense. Whereas Dinah, along with all the other high level ones, have 2 effects in common with each other. They have one effect that's triggered when they're special summoned, and they have a second effect which is as passive. So with Dinah, the triggered effect is that you get to banish cards from your opponent's graveyard equal to the number of 4 Hyle monsters you control with different names, including itself. And its continuous effect is that while it's on the field, it is the only 4 Hyle monster your opponent can attack. A lot more useful than being the one your opponent can target. because there's a lot of cards that don't target or just do mass destruction. And this thing has 2500 attack, and with Bravo it'll go up to 3000, which is very useful. A defensive monster that is the same attack as Blue Eyes, and can bounce your opponent's graveyard. Next up, we got 2 copies of Wiz, Sage for Hire. This is a level 7 spellcaster, which, when special summoned, lets you gain 500 life points for each 4-hire monster with different name you control, except for copies of Wiz itself. And also, if as a quick effect, if your opponent were to activate a spell trap card, you can discard 1 4-hire card, negate that activation. Note, this does not destroy the card, it just negates it. Then we got Raphael, Champion for Hire. This is a level 8 dragon. On special summon, you get to activate the top card of your deck equal to the number of 4-hire monsters you control with different names, except for copies of Raphael. Which is very useful for consistency, because regardless, that is a +1. You're getting an additional card. And the continuous effect is that, similar to Wiz, if your opponent were to activate a monster card as opposed to a spell or trap, you can discard 1 4-hire card, negate that activation, and just like Wiz, it does not destroy it. By the way, this one's 2800 attack would go up to 3300 when used with Bravo. Onto the spell cards, we got Reinforcement of the Army, which can search out Beat. 1 copy of 1-for-1 to bring out Philo. Reasoning, because as you can see we have a large amount of levels 1 through 8 with the exception of 5. And because we have an equal amount of 4s and 3s, it's very unlikely that your opponent would be able to call the right number, therefore it's pretty much a free summon. Then we got Fearless Burial. This is used as an indirect search with Seal, as well as to put cards in the graveyard. That way you can revive them with revival spells, such as Monster Reborn, or Mayhem for Hire, or to bring them back to your hand with Seal. Wait, no. Or to revive them with Philo. I only mentioned Seal. Then we got Monster Reborn. Very straightforward. 2 copies of Pot of Dichotomy. Yes, I've went over this before. This card is not the best. It's probably the 3rd worst part of card. But regardless, I like it. And this is one of the few decks where you can actually use it in. If you're not familiar with it, it says at the start of your main phase 1, target 3 monsters in your graveyard with different types. Shuffle all 3 of them into the deck, then draw 2 cards. You cannot continue your battle phase. Now, there's 2 big restrictions on this, and that makes it you can't use it on your first turn. But regardless, this is one of my preferred draw power cards, and this is one of the few decks I can actually work with. Then we got 2 copies of Twin Crystal, because none of the 4-hire specifically get rid of back row. I mean, sure, you got Donpa and Recon, but those aren't blanket removal of spell traps. And you'd most likely just use them to remove monsters. Then we got 3 copies of Mayhem for Hire. This is a quick play revival card that can revive 1 4-hire monster from your graveyard in defense position. It being a quick play is very useful as it allows you to actually trigger your 4-hire effects on your opponent's turn, which in the case of someone like Donpa, Beat, or I guess even Bravo defensively, would be very useful. And also just specifying out the 2800 defense Wiz. Then we got 3 copies of Fire for Mason Tinky. Tinky is used to search out Seal and provide a minuscule stat boost to both Seal and Dinah. And finally, we got 2 copies of Pinpoint Landing. This continuous spell says that if you specify exactly one monster from your hand, so not really suited for pendulum summons, you can draw one card. But if during the end phase you did not draw a card due to this card's effect, you send this card to the graveyard. Yeah. Given how everything in the deck is designed to specify a monster from your hand, you don't really have to worry about the drawback of it. And because, again, it's focused on summoning out monsters from your hand and trying to keep them in your hand so you can use the effects of Raphael and Wiz, it's very useful to get as much draw power as you can out of the deck. Then into the extra deck, we've got Link Kuibo for Philo, Underclock Taker due to being fairly generic, and having a potential of adding a more beatdown focus due to the attack of Dinah and Raphael as well as Bravo. Puzzler Mino, the drop-in deleter. This one takes 2 monsters with different levels, very simple in this deck. And if a monster is specified into a zone this card points to, either directly down or directly to the side of it, you get to choose a level between 1 and 8. That monster becomes that level, which can be very useful for making different Xyz plays in the deck. And then with the other effect that it has is that you can target 2 monsters with the same level on the field, one from each side of the field, destroy both of them due to the variety of levels, as long as they don't have like an Xyz or a Link, which most likely they would, they can destroy those. Proxy Dragon for just a generic Link that can offer some protection. Firefighting Daruma Doll. It is a Beast Royal, so it can synergize with the Tenki. Again, minuscule stat boost, but fits with its own stat boost, in which it gains 100 attack for each Beast Royal, and a Winged Beast you control. So we got Donpa, Recon as Beast. We've got Seal and Dinah as Beast Warriors. And we've got Philo as a Winged Beast. So it's easy enough to summon, and it can have some stat boosts, and also it can destroy one spell trap card on both sides of the field, which does fit with Tenki as a continuous spell. And finally, if it does destroy a monster or a battle, you can return one Beast, Winged Beast, and or Beast Royal monster from your graveyard to your hand. So decent amount of recursion. Then of course there's the Nightmares, take monsters with different names. For Hyos really gotta gain monsters with different names on the field. Decode Talker, again another generic one that offers some negation as well as can have a decent amount of attack. Then we got the most important one, that being Fogo, Justice for Hyle. This takes 3 monsters with different types, and it cannot be used as a link material. If this card is link summoned, you can specify one monster from your... one 4 Hyle monster. I hate how that's worded. One 4 Hyle monster with a different type from the 3 monsters used for its summon. And specify that to a zone it points to in defense position. So, to put that in perspective, let's say you use Philo, Donpa, and Beat. Let's say you use those 3 to make this. You just use a Warrior, a Beast, and a Winged Beast. You now have the potential of specifying any of the ones that don't have those 3 typings. Such as Wiz. And here's the really good effect of it. If a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you don't even have to do it by the effect of a 4 Hyle. In fact, your opponent can destroy one of their own cards, and it will trigger the effect. you draw one card. But if you control at least 3 4 higher monsters with different names, which you most likely will, given that as soon as there's a summon, it gives you a free summon, does not negate that card's effect, meaning that one can then special summon a monster from your hand, which actually works really well if you do special summon Dompa from your deck using its effect, as it would give you automatic destruction of an opponent's card, which would then trigger this thing's effect in turn. But yeah, if you control at least 3 4 higher monsters, you get to draw 3 cards instead of 1. That's a lot of consistency. Then we got 1 copy of Saryuja Skuldred. Takes multiple monsters with different names. Again, very simple for the deck. And you get a stat boost for all your monsters, which can be useful if you're going for a beatdown approach. And you can get a free special from your hand, which is kind of redundant in 4 hires, but still appreciated. And finally, being able to reshape your hand. Then we got Warlord Dragon as a powerful boss monster for the deck. Then we have the Xyz. Despite the amount of options you can have with the deck, I'm just using the 4s because I couldn't think of anything else that actually synergize that well. So we got Diamond Direwolf, which can destroy a Beast, Beast Royal, and or Winged Beast monster to destroy 1 card your opponent controls. Got a decent amount of options with that in this deck. Number 41 Baguska, the terribly tired Tapil, for like a more of a stun card. And finally, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon as a stronger tackle. So yeah, the benefit of 4 hires being able to special on so much is that you can pretty much use your extra deck as a toolbox, as you're going to have a lot of options, making the Nightmares really good. And as you can tell, like, don't actually have a Nightmare Phoenix. But yeah, that's all for this time. Thanks for watching.